So thank you. We're going to turn to item 6.1 of the agenda. Apologies again for those people that were hoping to be on a little bit earlier, but we'll now move to item 6.1, which is for the Surrey Quays Shopping Centre. And Gemma, turn to you. Thank you.
Thank you. So this evening I will be presenting a proposal that seeks temporary planning permission for a period of 5 years, part of the Surrey Quays Shopping Centre, to be used as a mixed-use cultural venue. The venue would comprise a variety of uses, including a food hall, indoor farm, event space, education and screening rooms, as well as ground and first floor external terraces. There are no extensions proposed, but the facades will be upgraded by way of new fenestration, additional access points, recladding, painting and installation of canopies and lighting. Maximum capacity for the venue 1 a.m. Monday to Wednesday, 3 a.m. Thursday, Friday and Saturday, and 11 p.m. on a Sunday. The application was amended in response to comments raised after the initial consultation. Specifically, the proposed LED advert screen adjacent to the dock was removed. Minor changes were proposed to the facade treatment. The venue capacity was increased. And additional information was submitted to address air quality and noise-related comments raised by my colleagues in EPT. A further round of consultation was undertaken as a result of the amendments. There is an addendum update for this item. 9 additional letters of objection were received and 4 additional letters of support after this report was in. Additional 2 letters of objection were submitted after the addendum was sent today, as well as a letter from members. So this takes the total to 20 objections and 10 supports. The issues identified are already covered in the main report, so I will now move on to the main presentation. This site is known as the former Range retail unit, located in the northern end of the shopping centre, with frontage onto the town centre car park and the dock. As you can see from the images on this slide, the site is bound to the west by the car park, to the north by Canada Water Dock, which has recently been subject to significant public realm improvements, with a pedestrian footpath separating the shopping centre and the dock, to the east by Surrey Quays Road and shared service yard, and to the south by the shopping centre. The site is within a designated town centre with a PTEL rating of 6A, reflecting its proximity to Canada Water Underground Station, the bus station and Surrey Quays Overground Station. The closest residential properties are those in Portishead to the north, Lower Road and Hofffield Place to the west. As shown on this slide, the ground floor would comprise a few food hall and leisure space, an indoor farm and a small external terrace fronting the dock edge. There would be back of house spaces and bookable meeting rooms. Entry and exit points would be provided into the dining space from both the north and west elevations. A separate secure access point would be provided to the event space. This access is located to the north face of the building towards Surrey Quays Road and has a queuing capacity for 200 people. The number of entry and exit points and their location will help to ensure that arrivals and departures can be appropriately managed to minimise noise and disturbance. It should also be noted that given the range of spaces and different uses proposed, people using the facilities will arrive and leave frequently throughout the day and night rather than at a set time. A small terrace is proposed on the north side of the building, adjacent to the dock. This will complement the recently completed public realm on the southern dock edge, while still allowing a generous space for access and movements for cyclists and pedestrians. Space would be provided at first floor level, comprising a head external terrace fronting Canada Dock, with a capacity for around 100 people, and room for other events or private hire. The principle of demolition of the shopping centre has been agreed as part of the Outline Planning Commission for the Master Plan redevelopment. The majority of the shopping centre will remain in operation until demolition is required to facilitate development in Zone D of the Master Plan scheme. However, the former occupier of this part of the shopping centre vacated the premises in 2024. The vacant unit is a large space which offers the opportunity to be used for a purpose which will complement the transformation of this area as the early phases of the master plan are delivered. The proposed development will complement the existing retail offer, adding to the vitality and viability of the town centre and extending the range of nighttime economy uses in this area. The use will provide good activation at street level, whilst also making a valuable contribution to the cultural offer at Canada Water and increasing employment opportunities. This slide shows the approach to upgrading the facades. There is no objection to the refurbishment and adding of the elevations. The proposed reopening of the existing glazing at ground floor is a welcome intervention which would help enliven the building facade. The repair and recladding would reflect the industrial heritage and would differentiate the proposed cultural venue from the rest of the shopping centre. The proposed terrace will include planting, greenery and seating to activate the space. The existing trees and hard landscaping along the western facade will be retained. The image on the left of this slide shows the location of the site in relation to its neighbours. This is a town centre location with a mix of commercial and residential uses. The use proposed is appropriate for a location such as this. However, the operator should take all reasonable measures to ensure that the use is operated and managed in a way which reduces harm to neighbours. As you can see, the nearest residential neighbours are located well over 100 metres away in all directions. The right-hand image shows the various access and egress points into the site. Numerous entry points will help to aid the flow of visitors. A separate queuing area for large events towards Surrey Quays Road will help to minimise any noise and disturbance in this regard, and all servicing and deliveries will take place within the existing shopping centre service yard. The applicant submitted a noise impact assessment which considered potential noise from music, plant and people using the external terrace. This has been scrutinised by the Environmental Protection Team, and as a consequence, conditions to control noise levels have been recommended. A management plan will be secured by condition. This plan will require the operator to set out measures to control and monitor all aspects of noise arising from operation of the venue, including measures to receive and address complaints and community liaison. The plan will also set out details of site security and management procedures to prevent and deal with any antisocial behaviour, as well as measures to ensure that the site surroundings are safe, clean and attractive. British Land have confirmed that there will be a significant increase in the number of CCTV cameras in the new public realm areas, as well as inside the building. An additional 68 cameras will be installed on the premises, including public, back of house and external areas. More widely, there will be 14 new CCTV cameras installed as part of the first phase of the Canada plan around the dock, lots A1 and A2. Local residents' objections to the proposal on the ground of noise, disturbance and antisocial behaviour have been duly considered. However, in this location, and for the reasons set out in detail, officers consider that subject to the relevant conditions being attached, proposals would not give rise to a level of harm that should justify refusal of this application. 17 letters of objection have been received, as well as 10 letters of support. Actually, this has gone up as a result of the addendum that I circulated. The reasons for objection have been detailed in the report, and the issues raised have been fully considered and addressed within relevant sections of the main report. The impact on transport has been discussed in detail in the report, and appropriate conditions recommended. The application responds appropriately to climate change policies given the nature and scale of the development. In line with the requirements of the NPPF, the Council has applied the presumption in favour of sustainable development. The proposal would accord with development plan policies and would make a positive contribution to the town centre. It is therefore recommended that planning permission be granted for a period of 5 years, subject to the recommended conditions and informatives.
Thank you. Questions from members of the committee? Councillor Soanes, I can see you reaching. You're to start.
Ask you and seek some further clarification on the light pollution lighting assessment that was submitted. I understand there's mitigating proposals for the safeguard of those entering and leaving the venue, but there hasn't been anything specifically said around the impact potentially of or controlling external lightings to the building on the local ecology, bats and wildlife specifically. On that, could you say a little bit more?
Clarify. The level of lighting that's going to be installed will be to the standard and specification that you'd expect for any public building. So, it's a kind of normal level of facade lighting. for safety and security, it will be appropriate to ensure that people can move around and travel in and out of the building, but it wouldn't be at such a level that we'd be expecting any harm to the dock. For example, there will already be lighting associated with the southern steps of the dock and across the bridge. So you may recall we talked before about low levels of lighting, enough to mean that people can move around the area safely, but not bright enough to cause any ecology issues. So our ecologist didn't require any further information in that regard for this particular proposal.
Councillor Whittam.
The opening hours, especially the Thursday to Saturday, going to 3 a.m. Is there any justification for that?
I might start with this, and then if you need any more technical information, I can call on my colleagues. So I think the starting point for this is that this is a town centre location. It's the type of location where we would expect nighttime uses to be accommodated. There are other nighttime and leisure uses within the vicinity that operate fairly well. The site is served by good public transport options that run very late into the night, particularly. So I think the starting point for us in planning is that this is the type of location that we would expect an offer like this. I think we kind of widely recognise pan London and within the borough that there is a need to have uses that contribute to the nighttime economy. There's kind of a big drive for cultural uses. And if we're going to see those uses provided, then it should be in locations like this. However, we do appreciate that the impacts need to be managed, which is where the management plan comes in. So that's for the operator to take all reasonable steps to manage comings and goings and any issues that arise. And then we kind of move into the more technical environmental health side of things, which is where Richard comes in around kind of noise levels. So I might hand over to him at that point.
The way the noise that's been designed for the scheme is to have a fixed decibel level at the facade of any sensitive residential dwelling in that area, and that level has been set at such a low level that it wouldn't cause any disturbance at any time of day or night. So we're quite satisfied that even with open windows in surrounding homes, there won't be a significant adverse effect, which is the planning policy test. Obviously, the wider question as to kind of what hours you want to allow in a town centre and how much you want to encourage nighttime economy is a more of a sort of planning policy question. But in sort of noise policy terms, we don't have concerns about operation to those hours.
And just to clarify, you mean from the venue itself?
Yes.
Yes. So you're not talking about noise from people egressing the site. You're talking about the venue itself, the decibel levels from within the venue itself are at that level.
Yeah, music noise from people on the terrace, and noise from the plant associated with the venue.
Thank you. Councillor Whittam.
Stray into forbidden territory now. I'm saying that the licensing hours are much shorter, and I know they are completely separate regimes, and there is no interplay between them. But it does worry me that they can be granted the planning hours, get the shorter licensing hours, and then use the fact that they've got the longer planning hours to put in an application to extend those hours.
Well, I think you've answered it yourself. They're separate, a separate regime, so any licensing application would be considered on its merits with regard to the licensing objectives. This has to be assessed against planning policy, and we can't second guess what licensing applications they may or may not put forward. So, of course, you can look at the opening hours and consider the potential impact on residential amenity from a planning point of view, but licensing is separate.
Can I just ask a question about the hours? When you're presenting on the hours, you mentioned this is a town centre location, but it wasn't unusual to have hours as late as 3 a.m. in the morning there. Can you tell us of the existing venues in the area, what, are there other venues which are open at 3 a.m? And if not, what's the latest opening hours of existing venues in the area?
Okay, so first of all, just to clarify, I don't mean it's not unusual for existing venues to open this late, but in a town centre, it wouldn't be unusual to have nighttime uses that operate till 3 a.m. So in terms of the opening hours for existing premises, that isn't data that I have. I'm not sure if you do have it. Richard.
I'm not aware of any open till 3 a.m. The only one would be the Printworks, which is a recently, it's an existing meanwhile use and then a recently consented permanent cultural use. And I think that was till 6 a.m. from the top of my head.
Very late.
So there is a
Printworks doesn't operate now.
no, but I suppose the point that we make is that it did, and
Yeah, there's a lot of complaints about it.
and then Kath, that goes back to the point about the licensing regime. So obviously, in being considered in terms of the license, then one of the things that the licensing committee are considering are complaints, nuisance that have been caused, if there's been issues with the police. So whilst
Councillor Whitton, can we let officers speak, please?
so whilst the planning application is limiting by condition the hours, the venue operator, I'm sure the venue operator can address this question as well, would in any case need go through the licensing process and make the case there. So they couldn't operate those hours without that license. And of course, the licensing committee can take into account those other considerations, which aren't necessarily planning considerations.
Thank you. I think hours of operation are likely to be something we return to before we make a decision, but maybe want to leave that to the applicants unless there's any further questions at this stage for officers on that issue. I wanted to pick up some other issues that were raised by the residents at Hoffield Place. So they mentioned the house, but one of the things that does seem to be a particular concern for them is about people using that ramp from the car park area through Hoffield Place and their concerns about increased volumes. My understanding is that the plan is eventually to remove that ramp in any case, but just to understand the timings of this, whether that ramp would be closed to the public before this is open, or whether that is something we expect to happen subsequently.
So just to clarify that the closure or opening of that ramp is entirely separate to this application. So that forms part of the main outline planning permission for the site. It isn't connected to the application before us this evening. So the outline application leaves possibilities for that ramp to either be closed or remain open. It kind of acknowledged it as an issue at the time, and the Section 106 allows different scenarios to be considered. So what the Section 106 agreement doesn't do is define a time by which that route must be closed, because it will be dependent upon how the master plan comes forward, what other routes there are through the master plan at that point in time. Obviously, there are pluses and minuses to that route through Hoffield Place, depending on which residents you speak to. So it is very likely that that route will close when there are other parts of the master plan built out and other permeable ways for pedestrians. But I don't think, I mean, the applicants are here, they might be able to say more on it. I couldn't give a time frame this evening, but it is unconnected to this application. I appreciate that it is one of the concerns raised by the residents, but it isn't something we could tie up as part of this issue.
Okay, that's helpful. One other question I wanted to ask is, I understand what's happening in terms of management of people leaving the building, and therefore sort of not everybody pouring out the venue all at once and creating big noise and disturbance and the marshalling around that. Just also mindful that that potentially creates slightly different welfare issues, and there's been talk about people sort of concerns and Printworks of people urinating around the area and things like that. And obviously the longer people have to queue to get out, the more likely that is to be an issue. So just to understand, is there anything in the plans about managing that?
I think it would be useful to hear from the operator around how they manage that as they're here. The management plan will require them to give us certain levels of comfort and commitment around that. I don't, as I understand it, there will never be people queuing to leave this venue. It isn't Printworks.
Okay.
You know, there's a large dining offer where people will come and go sporadically throughout the evening. It's not going to hold the big events that Printworks held. However, it's probably best to actually speak to the operator in detail about their experience of how they'll manage that process, and then we will sign it off in due course when they submit their plan to us.
Thank you. And final question I had was paragraph 111. It talks about secure by design, and the sort of conclusion there is because it's a temporary use, it's not appropriate to have those measures in place. But just to understand a little bit more about that and secure by design comments there.
That doesn't mean that the applicant team hasn't worked with the Secure by Design officers. It just means that because this is a meanwhile use, it's not appropriate to attach a planning condition that requires that formal certification process. However, the comments from Secure by Design were shared with the applicant team at the time when they came in, and it's my understanding that they have a working relationship with their proposal. So it's just that we would control it through the planning system.
Thank you. Any further questions from committee members? Yeah. Councillor Soames.
To understand what happens at the end of the 5-year period. It's going to get knocked down to.
Well, the planning permission will expire, so there will no longer be permission for that building to operate in that way. You know, if the master plan has developed to a point where British Land want to build out their outline permission, then that's an option open to them. If they weren't quite ready and they wanted to apply to extend the use, that would be an option open to them. But the one known is that the permission that we issue would formally expire. So some action would have to be taken if they wanted to carry on past that date.
Thank you. Going to move on. Are there any objectors to this application this evening? We've not had notification of any, and I can't see anybody in the room that is doing that, but or indicating they want to, but just give people the opportunity. No, in that case, could the applicant or the applicant's agent? Thank you. And you'd have heard how we run these things, so I'm going to ask you each to introduce yourselves, and then after that, I will give you 3 minutes between you with which to address the committee.
Hello, I'm Hugh Savvy, consultant.
Hi, I'm Simeon, Head of Strategy at Broadwick.
Hi, I'm Georgina Wellen from British Land.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. I am the British Land lead for the Corner proposal at the vacant former range unit. At Council Water, we are committed to delivering one of the largest and most sustainable mixed-use regeneration projects in London. The master plan will be delivered in stages, and as such, we are continuously exploring ways in which we can create enlivenment and attractiveness to the area. British Land, in partnership with Broadwick, are pleased to present this exciting proposal for a new food hall, vertical farm and flexible event space. Phase 1 of the Thames Water Master Plan is nearing completion, and during this phase we have completed on 7 Roberts Close, which delivered 79 council homes, and was handed over to Southwark Council in 2024. We've delivered on the Boardwalk and Southern Edge steps, which are now open and in use and showcasing the new wetlands habitat in Canada Dock. Plots A1 and A2, comprising of homes, workspace and the new council-run leisure centre, are due to complete later this year. And we see Corner as an important piece of phase 1, offering a cultural meanwhile use for the next 5 years until the shopping centre site is redeveloped as part of the master plan. This venue will create new employment opportunities during both the construction and operational phase. I will now hand over to Simeon, our partner at Broadway.
I'm Simeon. My job is to operate and programme venues, which we hope to do with Corner. At Broadwick, we bring together music, culture, food and art in unique spaces. We operate over 30 venues around the world where we design, build and deliver some of the most exciting venues and entertainment brands, including the former Printworks. As a business, Canada Water has been home for us for nearly 10 years, with the opening of Printworks in 2017. During that 6-year operation, we also operate the old Decathlon store, the Dock Edge or Dock X, an event space with a capacity of 1,500 people. We're currently hosting Channel 4 and Taskmaster in this space. We have a proven track record and a long-standing relationship with Canada Water and a good reputation with the community, having given away 10,000 tickets to fans of Printworks in that time. At the centre of the space, corner, will be a vertical farm managed by our partners, Harvest London. The farm will showcase and celebrate the journey from farm to fork by growing herbs and salad leaves that will be used in the food hall. The multifunctional exhibition space will offer a potential for a variety of events and experiences, catering to all groups, including families. We have an exciting program of events planned, starting with an immersive children's experience from Microsoft Minecraft. We'd be excited to be given the opportunity to present this amazing space.
To conclude, for all the reasons that Simi and I have outlined, we respectively request that tonight the committee grants temporary planning permission. Thank you, Chair. And should you or the committee have any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Questions from members of the committee? I'm going to go to Councillor Whittam first.
Before I go to the hours, can you just point out on the plan, ground floor plan, where the toilets are?
I need to do that.
Yeah. If you can describe.
Yes, it's quite hard from sitting here, but see the pink area?
Yeah.
Just above that where it gets a bit complicated.
Yeah.
Do you want to point?
Oh yeah, here, yeah. Let me come up. Yeah. So essentially there's a big toilet block here. That's super easily accessible from the main entrance off the water side, very clearly signposted inside the venue. And also there's an entrance from the event space with its own toilets. These will be publicly accessible. You don't have to come and buy food. You don't have to buy drinks to use these toilets. They're available to the public when we're open.
Okay. Coming on to when you're open.
Yes.
Yeah, are you doing it 3 in the morning?
Look, across our 30 venues around the world, we have various different trading hours, all the way through to 6 a.m. in some of our locations. And I guess for us, councillor, the 3 a.m. is just giving us flexibility in the future of this planning application. As you know, licensing is a different regime and is much shorter, more flexible, more kind of dynamic in process. We essentially we have a licensing application hearing next week on the 13th. That is less hours, as some of you may know. The 3 a.m. just gives us flexibility in the future for the odd event that might come up that we will apply for. As you rightfully said earlier on, we may apply for an extension in the license for those specific users, but against a management plan, as the EHO mentioned earlier on, with a dynamic sound plan. That we believe we can cope with. We did many shows at Printworks till 4 a.m. We did 600 shows, in fact, and we're really proud of our reputation with the local community in Canada Water. Yeah, there may have been the odd complaint for the community, but we believe that we dealt with those. Across those 600 shows, we had no interactions with licensing, no formal complaints.
I've sat in quite a few meetings at the time at Printworks. Talking about toilets along the edge of the dock and people urinating into garages.
Would you like me to speak to that?
Yes, please. Yeah, that's an important point.
Councillor, they're good points. There were moments where we had people with antisocial behaviour early on with Printworks. We took that feedback on. We created areas, pods, where we had public conveniences that we put in on show days. We believe that we get on top of that, and I think the licensing officers would agree with on top of that. I think what this does for us is an opportunity is the permanent toilets. It's a good provision. In fact, we're relieved, literally. that we have the architecture there, and I think that it's going to be a good because there aren't public toilets there anywhere really. And the library, if you speak to the library, we've been there for 10 years. We know the community. You can't go to the bathroom in the tube station. It's really difficult. Everyone trying to use the disabled toilet in the library. So the fact that we have these 20-30 loos there, I think it's a bigger thing than just what we're doing. I think people are going to use the space.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you a question about Hoffield Place, given that's come up, and given that we've heard clearly from officers that we can't be linking the closure of the ramp, it appears, to this, just to understand what the marshalling arrangements are for people leaving the venue.
I'll give a slightly more quicker update on Hoffield Place itself. So we have consulted the residents of Hoffield Place, and I think that's part of the market. I think the decision has been taken by the residents to close that. We agreed we would close that when we bring forward Zone B, which is the zone by the ramp by the leisure centre. The only other thing I'd add is there is a route in between the two new buildings, the Council's Leisure Centre and the Tower, which will be opening. I can't confirm a date, but it will be not dissimilar to when we open Corner, hopefully subject to planning in the summer of this year. The only last point is, Sim will cover the marshalling, but we would expect the large majority of people visiting Corner will either use Surrey Quay Station or Canada Water Station. And the access through Hoffield Place goes to Lower Road to Southern Park. It's not a principal route for people arriving or leaving the site. In terms of marshalling, I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, I mean, we have it as one of the addendums to the application. We have a detailed stewarding dynamic plan. I guess I don't expect people to use that route, if I'm honest, but I guess really honestly, if we did find that people were using that route really regularly, we would, like we did with Printworks, we would address it, we would secure it, we would steward it. Our belief is, like Printworks, people will leave and go to Canada Water Tube. It's excellent. We spoke to the transport team in there. We had a great relationship over the last 10 years with the team in the tube, and that's what we believe. And on top of that, all of the street cleaning and all of those things you'd expect us to do from corner back to the tube. That's what we believe. But that's dynamic, right? And I'm hoping in licensing as well, that'll be conditioned and we'll be required to steward in that way.
Questions from committee members? Okay. Thank you. You may return. We may find we have questions for you later on, so please do stay near the front in case those arise. Thank you. Any supporters of the application that live within the 100 metres of site? I can't see any. Any board councillors wish to speak who aren't a member of the committee? No. In that case, any further questions for officers that come out as the presentations we need to ask? No. In that case, any views on the application or what we want to do with it, and particularly, I think, that issue about hours. And Councillor Whittam, I am going to look at you as somebody who is interested.
Yeah, I'm still not happy about 3 a.m. And I think you could have done it with 10s on top of the licensing hours required for the odd occasion that you want to go later than 1 a.m. 2 a.m. Town centre licensing, quite generous as it is, without having to extend it. But apart from that, I think it's a good scheme. It makes use of an empty space, gives people things to do all through the day. Lots of variety there, something for everyone. And the toilets are a good thing.
Thank you. I could see officers itching when we were talking about hours. Any comments?
Well, just attends as a temporary event notice under licensing. So if you got a 10, that means you'd be able to carry out a licensable activity under licensing for longer, but you would still have to comply with any condition on the planning permission. So I think potentially what the applicant was saying is the licensing hours might be shorter, and then we might use 10s. I don't know off the top of my head. I think it's 50 a year around that to extend that. But they would still have to comply with any condition on the planning permission. So that's why they want that flexibility.
Okay, any further comments or questions on this? Otherwise, Councillor Whittingham, you've given us your views. Any other views from members of the committee?
No, I mean, no, Chair, I'm quite happy because as Councillor Whittingham is the ward councillor and understands and knows the area really well. I'm happy to sort of support any recommendation if it deviates from what has been proposed to us. I'm quite happy to support that, given that understanding her representation. But apart from that, I echo her comments. It is a good scheme and potentially, and be interested in. And it's quite varied, isn't it? Which just as a sort of multiple use, which I'm in favour of, and of all ages, particularly a range of age groups. So yeah, I'm happy to vote in favour.
Councillor City.
I agree with the comments made so far, and I'm happy to support.
Okay. Councillor Whittingham.
Yeah, just one thing. The music offer apparently is going to be jazz mainly, which I would vote against.
It takes all sorts. It's not my cup of tea either, but there's definitely a market for it. There'll definitely be people who enjoy it. So yeah, if we only voted for the music we like, we'd be not having much going on in the borough. Okay, I think with that, I'd like to move that we adopt officers' recommendations set out in paragraph 1 of the report on page 10 for the main agenda pack. The temporary planning permission is granted for 5 years, subject to recommended conditions and informatives. Does any member of the committee wish to second this proposal? Councillor Whittam, thank you. So Councillor Whittam, I'm going to turn to you first to vote.
Okay.
Councillor Soanes. Councillor Sitchik. And Councillor Richard Livingstone. I'm also voting for it. Permission is granted. And that brings us to an end of this evening's meeting. Safe travels home, everybody. Take care.